Here on Cricbuzz Live, even before we look ahead to what should be an absorbing contest at the Sawai Mansingh Stadium in Jaipur, we have to talk about what's just happened. A heartbreaker in Hyderabad. It was, well, CSK winning, but just about. Never mind predictions, never mind who predicted what. At the end, it's come down to a game of margins. I've got Joy Bhattacharjya, Zaheer Khan with me. No matter what you talk about, we were chatting when we saw that no ball happen. I know you don't want to pick on little things, but how big is that no ball right now? Kane Williamson, it was clearly chest height almost.
Absolutely, and I don't know why they wouldn't have a situation where they could go to a third umpire to do something about it, because that was not close. That was by a very far margin a no ball, and if you've lost a match by 4 runs, that's decisive.
Yeah. It's game of small margins, I think, this format particularly, I think, and when games go to these last ball finishes, that's when you think of these kind of decisions even more. DRS has certainly helped now, in terms of having some kind of a control over the blatant bad calls, but I think this sort of calls can define matches, and I think the option has to be there, just to review, because umpires have been checking no balls if someone is out. So I think in the similar fashion, they can look at these no balls as well. Like if some batsman has gotten out, umpires have been going upstairs and checking just to make sure. So I think when these kind of things happen, it's just a presence of mind for umpire. Also, no one stops him from just going and cross checking, because the game was going to be a close one, and that extra delivery could have mattered for sure.
But let's go one step further, or one step backward rather. Even if you don't look at a review system, the third umpire is seeing everything that we, the viewer, are watching. The third umpire has the power, or could have the power in theory, to intervene. When he sees something immediately, he sees it's above waist height, he just goes, they're on the radio all the time, mate, you got that one wrong, call him back, or redo that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it needs to be done, because, I can imagine the pressure of that umpire after that. He's just going to build on him. As the game got closer and closer, he must be wondering, wondering what to do, because clearly he's cost them the game.
We saw an incident where a bowler overstepped. I'm not sure who the bowler was. It was called a no ball. He knew he had not overstepped, and he almost turned to the umpire and goes, "Can I review that? Because I'm sure I didn't." Replays showed he had this much of his heel behind the line.
It can go the other way also. So if third umpire sees something like this, he should be able to communicate to the on-field umpire and change that call, because today was the case of no ball being not called. It might be the case of a ball which is not a no ball being called as a no ball, and when we see it in the replays, the same replay is being seen by third umpire as well. So I think these kind of decisions can matter and can change the course of the game, because that extra delivery, extra wicket or extra big hit can really change the course of the game. So I think from that point of view, it is debatable for sure that these kind of things, it's just going to enhance the efficiency of the game and the umpiring standards.
I'm clear. It's now unilateral communication. I call you, then only you can come on board. All you need to do is make it a bilateral communication, because he's away, he's in an air-conditioned box, he doesn't have 50,000 people screaming, he doesn't have teams sledging at each other, he's not there. And therefore, he's in a much calmer situation to help his 2 guys downstairs. It needs to be done now.
And the fact is, one of the grouses that people had over the last few years was you don't want to slow the game down. But this will not slow the game down. The fact that you've got modern technology, modern communication, it's one word in the umpire's ear saying, hang on, that was over waist high. Simple.
Absolutely. I think we shouldn't labor the point anymore. But yeah, this needs to be done. And if anything, I think this could have been an IPL final. I mean, this is still a league match, something. This could have been an IPL final.
Certainly could have been. But just to look back at the last few moments, Kane Williamson was absolutely brilliant, Lone Ranger, but he needed someone for company, and Yusuf Pathan suddenly found himself in the second half of his innings.
I think so too, and I think 2 players today actually did that. Both of them looked extremely scratchy when they started off. One was in the first innings, that was Raina, and the second was Yusuf Pathan. And both will go back with a certain amount of satisfaction that their IPL has finally started. Both of these guys have got going, and that's important for them. Very important for Hyderabad, because if Yusuf is, brittle, then that order looks much more brittle than it does. They do have to think about Manish Pandey now.
Yes, certainly do. Let's just remind you that this was Hyderabad playing without Shikhar Dhawan playing without David Warner. So we had a change in the batting order. There was Kane Williamson who opened the batting with Ricky Bhui, who didn't quite come off, but it was the third consecutive 50 for the New Zealand captain. And he got 84 of 51, and right at the end you could see his frustration there. Shakib played well. Yusuf Pathan kept him company. At the end, a name you will not see on that scorecard, who nearly performed a miracle, was Rashid Khan. I know we were talking about it a little while earlier. The first time I came across him, he had just taken 3 wickets in the Bangladesh Premier League. He came off. He had also hit about 15 of 12, and I told him they were playing Shape of You. The DJ was playing Shape of You, not the DJ who was bowling at him today. And I went and told him, I said, Rashid, the batsman couldn't read the shape of you with ball or bat. And he almost looked at me offended. He said, didn't you know I used to open the batting? I enjoy batting. And maybe it's one of those little talents that needs to be exploited and hasn't been done so far for him.
See, all he'll do is he'll be looking at Sunil Narine and saying that, he's opening the innings. What about me? Well, I can also swing the bat. Today he's got a strike rate of 500 plus. And why not? Who knows?
Almost the perfect strike rate he was going at.
Almost perfect.
He hit 2 sixes of 2 balls, so he was at 600.
Then he came down to 5.
Then he hit 1-4, so just the strike rate
and
just
they were clean sixes, so you could see there was someone who knows what to do with the bat. But overall, now if you have to assess from both sides, CSK have just gotten over the line. Sunrisers will be disappointed, but again, they know that it's not something that's going to push them too far down the table.
No, it's not going to push them too far down the table. What it does do is CSK is now up and running, and I think CSK at some point in time is going to hit a snag because they are a lot of old bodies and they're going to have injuries and all that. It will happen at some point in time, but now they've got a bit of cushion. That many wins under your belt, you've got a bit of cushion. Even if you drop 1 or 2, you will catch up. So no, they are now clearly one of a semi-final candidate, very, very clearly there. Yeah. They and Kings 11 are sort of almost writing their names out there right now.
Sunrisers will be desperate probably to have Shikhar Dhawan back. That's what we were told at the toss, that yes, he's missing out today, but he's likely to come back immediately for the next game.
I think so. But all in all, it was amazing game of cricket, and I think this theory of teams winning the toss and having an advantage is slowly going out of the window now as the IPL is moving forward, because you've seen now teams getting result with batting first, and to certain extent they are able to play pressure free when they're batting first. Second innings, if you've seen it with you've seen it with someone like Bravo today, that under pressure he knew what to do. So teams will slowly as the tournament is going forward, understanding the value of pressure. It's not easy to bat second all the time and win matches. The amazing fact is also that teams are taking the game deep, and they're believing that from any situation they can win the matches, and that's what you've seen today with Rashid Khan as well. At that stage we thought, okay, Kane Williamson out, Yusuf Pathan out, the game is done and dusted. But no, it's not done and dusted. You've seen someone like MS Dhoni running across to someone like Bravo, who's so experienced. 10 needed of 2 deliveries. He was also not relaxed. He's thinking that, okay, 10 needed, the game can go either way. So these kind of things which you're seeing now in the tournament, every team is settling. I think every team is getting in the groove of things. So there is a lot of excitement, I think, and close finishes like this. So none of the teams can relax now going forward in the tournament.
Joy, numbers wise, it started out, I think the first 6 or 7 games were 1 chasing. Now it's 12-8, 12 chasing, 8-1 batting first.
I think we discussed one of the points, and that is that as you grow surer of your ability to put runs on the board, and as you grow surer of what this wicket is worth how much and that wicket is worth how much in terms of just how the pitches are playing, as that happens, then more and more teams will be confident, because the biggest problem about batting first is the target that you need to set. And the more you see the pitches, the more you play on these pitches, the more you're aware of, okay, this is a good target. Also, you're more aware of what the other guy can do as well. Okay, these guys can't really chase, or these guys are brittle, get a couple of early wickets and you're in trouble. So I think the more understanding comes, the better it is to bat first.
Till today, it had only happened once, as in captain winning the toss decided to bat first. It was Ravichandran Ashwin, and I can tell you it's happened a second time today, because the second game that we're going to talk about is the Mumbai Indians. But before that, I think we should have a look at the points table to see where we stand at the end of this close fixture, with the Chennai Super Kings winning by a mere 4 runs. But it doesn't matter how much you win by, you still pick up full points. It's like hitting a big six. It could be 100 yards, 100 meters, it could be 65 meters. You still get those 6 runs. So CSK, 8 points on the board, level with Kings 11 Punjab, level on number of matches, slightly ahead on net run rate. They've had a couple of big wins as well. SRH still very much in the mix with 6 points, but a couple of teams who are going to be playing tonight. RR on 4, Mumbai Indians will be desperate to get there. RR can still win the match, come into the top half of the draw, but how big is it going to be for Mumbai Indians today to win this game? They've done it before. They've had streaks before. Lost 4 in a row, won 5 in a row. Yeah. They don't want to keep doing that all the time.
Very important game for them. I think, from the momentum point of view, because first 3 games they've lost. So when you lose first 3 games, that cushion of affording to lose matches is getting thinner and thinner. So from that point of view now, to grow in confidence, to build that confidence and that belief that yes, again we can turn things around. A second win is very important, I think, and from that point of view, it's a big game for Mumbai Indians, and the reason they're batting first is again the same, because I think they have the bowling lineup which can defend totals. It didn't happen in the first few matches, but certainly when you have someone like Mustafizur who can bowl in the death overs, you have someone like Bumrah who is so deceptive and effective in the death overs. I think you can defend totals. So I think that's the shift in the trend of IPL now. I think going forward, as the pressure is going to climb on, teams will certainly prefer batting first, depending on the conditions. Like if the wicket is suiting.
Wankhede though, not yet.
Why not?
You think?
I think the last game they won. See, to win a game of cricket, you have to play good cricket through and through, and more matches showing that now that you can't relax.
I know they won batting first, but they won batting first having lost the toss. So that's a different ball game altogether. But I'm just wondering if I can still see them say that it's the best chasing ground you have. We'll still go and put a total there.
I think two things to it. One is the fact that you have to think, if you think that your batting is relatively inexperienced, okay, then you probably want to bat first, because you don't want to put your teams under pressure. Whereas especially teams like CSK, who have a lot of these old wily war horses in the end, Dhoni and Bravo and all, they'll say, yeah, we'll chase, don't worry. That's a big factor in this as well. If you have a young side and you say, okay, these guys might lose their heads in the chase, then you might want to bat first. That's one. 2 is a ground like this, maybe a slightly larger ground. He'll be thinking, I've got Bumrah and Fizz. And then my spinners also, they've got a bit of protection. I mean, there's some depth out there. So, if I put up 170, 180 on the total, they might be under pressure.
So Mumbai unchanged. Rajasthan have gone in with 2 changes. Finally, we're going to see Jafra Archer in the mix. He's come in for Ben Lachlan. So let's have a look at the lineups. 2 changes just to confirm. Mumbai unchanged, but let's show you the lineup nonetheless. This is the combination that they've gone with. Power at the top of the order. Rohit Sharma, well, we'd like to see him open, but whether or not he does. Evan Lewis, Surya Kumar Yadav, who's certainly finding a second coming in good form at the top of the order. And Ishan Kishan, wow, he can do the kind of stuff Rishabh Pant can.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. I think there was some question mark on his fitness. The hurt looked very bad, but I'm glad that he's playing and recovered.
I have a request for you, Zaheer. You know Rohit very well. You've played with him for a long time. Can I just communicate a request to you, please? Please ask him to tell Mitchell McClenaghan that he has to shave off that mustache. That is not a mustache. That is a caterpillar out here.
Oh, you shouldn't be. Request. I thought your request is
to open the batting.
For Rohit Sharma to open the batting.
So was I waiting for that?
He's not
as CEO and president of that particular
club. That is my standard request. That is always there. Please ask him to shave. The 2 worst mustaches in this league belong to people from down under. One of them is Chris Lynn. That's a terrible mustache as well. And McClenaghan.
See, if it irritates the batsman, it's good for him, isn't it?
That's true.
If the batsman is irritated, he might do something stupid.
I can tell you what.
He can go in the dressing room and watch.
Right, beards have been a trend for Indian cricket of late. Yeah. But something about moustaches. I know you mentioned these 2 gentlemen. I referred to the BPL. We had the most horrendous moustache for, of all people, Shomo Sarkar. Yes, he came up with one of these disastrous moustaches. He looked like
types.
Yeah. When he came up with that, he honestly thought it was going to change his form. He made 2 single-digit scores, and I think off went the moustache after that.
So if McClenaghan gets hit, Rohit should just
last game.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but of course, when you talk of moustaches, the team that is epitomized by the moustache, no, it's not Shikhar Dhawan, it's the Rajasthan Royals themselves, the royal moustache, that is their symbol. 2 changes for the Rajasthan side. Jafra Archer, one of these days we'll see him with a moustache, but he's got plenty of hairdos to worry about. So Jafra Archer comes in for Ben Laughlin. I'm a little surprised about that Klaasen retains his place, and Dhaval Kulkarni comes in for Stuart Pinney. So again, home ground, they've got to protect that fortress yet again.
I'll miss Stuart Binney's slow balls. You know that.
See, one thing for sure, I don't like when teams go for a change and then they bring back the same player again. You know, then if you're just going to drop a player for one match
game,
and then you're going to bring him back, you're not going to do any good for his confidence. You know, you actually is not helping the player. So from that logic, I think, you know, the change what I've seen from RR has not been on the positive side for sure. And you have someone like Laughlin, who has been your main bowler. He's been leading the pack of the bowlers. Now because Jafra Archer is fit, you've dropped your main bowler. I think, you know, they could have afforded to have someone like Klaasen sit out and get one of the Indian batsmen in, ask Rahul Tripathi to open. So there is some kind of confusion I'm seeing in RR camp, and today's game from that point of view is very, very important, because if things don't go their way, then you'll see more changes, which is not going to be helpful at all for the team, and the campaign can get a little off track. Is what the feeling.
This whole matter of
great
one
example
match.
he gave of Rahul Tripathi, because again, it's about how you use him and the confidence you give. When he was in RPS, you could see that he was enjoying himself because he was given that license, given that freedom to go out there and express himself.
No, I think this is the one big thing about, and again, you see, I believe that in a dressing room, only one person is the lead. Either it's a coach or it's a captain. One of these guys is taking calls. Clearly in Rajasthan now, either it's a coach, I think it's a coach who's taking the calls, and I think he's doing it. And it needs to, the whole team needs to go along with it. The problem is, whenever there's a slight amount of conflict, or when a team is not doing well, then things tend to fall apart if these 2 guys are not in sync. And I sense that, you know, exactly what Zach was saying, that these moves, taking a player, dropping him for one match, bringing him back again, it's both players are actually impacted. One guy is saying, why did I get just one match as a chance? And the other guy is saying, you know, I don't know what's going on with me. You're taking me, you're putting me in, where am I going to bat? And then he's going to come and say that, you know, I do one bad innings and I could be back out again. You don't want that in a player's head, because this format needs players to play with freedom, and you're not giving them freedom.
Well, I guess no matter what, at least they'll hope that Jafra Archer gets a bit of a run. He did well in the Big Bash. He did well in the BPL as well. And let's just bring you some numbers from the Big Bash for Jafra Archer. And this was where he was in purple for the Hobart Hurricanes. And you could see that 16 wickets. The strike rate average of 23.06, not that it's averages that we always look at. Economy under 8 is always respectable. So it's wickets under his belt. He's got the pace, he's got the character, and I can tell you, like Rashid Khan, given a chance down the order, he likes to wheel the willow.
All these guys, all of them like to have one clean hit, you know, and they really enjoy it when they hit 6. You could see Rashid's face, it's more than if he had got a wicket. No, but I'd just like to say one thing. Laughlin was, from whatever we could make out from the body language of the team, was a bowling captain.
Yeah.
And I feel not having the bowling captain on the field is not always helpful, because he was also the guy who'd put an arm around Nathkat and said, okay, you know, you're doing this and all. And bowling captains are important in this format, because captains always don't have a chance to be that proactive all the time. And so that's, they'll miss him.
Well, gentleman next to you knows a thing about being bowling captain, whether or not actually as captain of the side, but you have spent a lot of time as being leader of a bowling group. How important is that?
Well, that gives you an advantage of being proactive on the field. I've mentioned this in the past as well, that, you know, when you're in game time, game situation, the small things matter. Small things in terms of when there is a dilemma of whether to bowl a slower one or to bowl a wide yorker or a bouncer. that thought process when a bowler is having, I personally just used to have that kind of small discussion and simplify the thought process. Sometimes you have to back the bowler in what he's thinking, and sometimes you have to just alter that thinking by a little bit. But by just doing that, it gives you a real time result on the field, which as a bowling coach is a very difficult thing to achieve, because you can talk about it after the match, or you can talk about it in the timeout, but in the game time you don't really have that much time when the bowler is actually in the process of bowling that over. If someone gives that kind of advice at that stage, or just have a small little discussion which simplifies things for the bowler, it goes a long way. So I think by that point of view, it's very important to have that kind of responsibility on someone. You've seen it with CSK. I think 19 runs to get off last over. Bravo knows that he has to get 2 good deliveries, and then he can build that pressure, and he stuck to his Yorkers as well to bowl that wide Yorker. Yes, 10 runs required of the last 2. That ball did go for 4, but he knows that he just has to bowl Yorker again,
so he can't
and he'll be fine. He's giving himself the best chance. So you just have to simplify for the bowlers to play percentage cricket. As long as the percentage is in your favor, result doesn't really matter. And the result of the previous ball usually puts pressure on the bowler, and that you just need to ease off.
Fair point. Just one more point I'm going to use, since you used bowling captain. I think it's a spot on that you said that, because I remember in the Hong Kong Blitz recently, you had a nice mix of very inexperienced players from associate nations playing with the likes of Sangakkara, Ben Laughlin and company, and that's exactly the role Laughlin played. There were 2 young Hong Kong bowlers who actually ended up being the 2 highest wicket takers in that franchise, and at the end of the tournament they said, our skipper was not the man who was actually captain of the side, was Ben Laughlin, and he's responsible for not just this tournament but for Hong Kong cricket in general. So that's how big an impact it can be.
I completely agree, and it's a huge factor. People like Zaheer, the difference they make while they're there on the field is huge, and I think that they'll miss it.
All right, it's time to look at numbers right now. It's that time. Remember, for the second time only in the tournament, we've got a side who have decided, after Kings 11 Punjab, the Mumbai Indians, they've decided to bat first. Kings 11, when they decided to bat first, got 193. Mumbai have decided to throw the gauntlet down. How much do they need to get, or how much do you think they'll get?
Look, I think this is a big field. It's not the easiest field to bat on. So I think if they get 175, 180, they'll be pretty happy. And that's about what they should look at. Maybe not all grounds are 200 grounds. I mean, they'd be happy. I think they could defend that easily.
So what's your figure?
180.
180?
185, small margins now. We are getting to that end of the tournament
end
now.
Of the tournament. It's all now
small margins.
So you don't try 180.
Pressure is on you.
I'm going backwards now. I'm going backwards. Jafra's there. I love Jafra, so I'm going backwards. I'm going for 172.
Okay.
I'm throwing 172.
I like it. Now he'll say 171.9 and play the odds. And,
I'm sticking to 172.
172 it is.
We'll see what it's going to be, but let's remind all of you, because we want to hear from you, not just in terms of predictions, but also issues. What did you think of that no ball? 2 things. 1, of course, whether that should lead to a change in the rule, and 2, of course, whether you actually did think that made a big difference to the game itself. 4-run victory for the Chennai Super Kings. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live, write into us. We'd love to hear from you, and of course we'll come back with much more in the mid-innings of this encounter. From the Sawai Mansingh Stadium, it's the fortress for the mustachioed Rajasthan Royals against the mustachioed Marauders led by Mitch McLennan. It's all the M's, the Mumbai Indians. Rajasthan Royals will come back in Cricbuzz Live.